Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of the Daily Crypto News. Glad to see you're watching again, but in the comment section down below, represent your city. Let me see where you are from, what city you're watching this from, and let's get on with the video. So yeah, what you're seeing in front of you right now is the Bitcoin to USD chart on the daily. And I think it's pretty damn fun to see that what we thought was happening is really unfolding right in front of us. All right, right in front of us, and everything is looking pretty damn obvious and pretty close to the bigger picture. So let me show you guys exactly where this all originates from. It actually all originates from the weekly, I believe. I don't know exactly what time frame we drew this upon, but it's the weekly here to see what the move was like. And we took here for our Fibonacci the biggest move ever, all the way from December 2016 to the top at December 2017. So yes, we took it from a whole year, but I consider this the start of the big move. Again, you can kind of take it here, but it's not really going to matter. However, if you then consider how exactly these line up, and these ones I guess are considered as, you know, earlier seen support. I just took out those lines a little bit earlier now. You can see how perfectly everything lines up and how perfectly everything is kind of set in stone already for the Bitcoin price. We've talked about this for a little while, but if you actually check the weekly right here on Bitcoin, you can see that the whole problem of yesterday is not even seen. It just looks like we've continued on gaining all the way since March in just a rampage here. And that the only hurdle is a very logical barrier at our, what's the exact Fibonacci? 0.786. All right. And of course, we saw the zone earlier at this area right here. We've seen that happen before. However, I don't know if we've touched that yet or are about to touch it. I mean, on the weekly, it looks a little bit more like we've already touched it. But I mean, if we look on the daily, I don't know if we really got into it just now or just not. Let's go and put this zone a little bit downwards. I mean, it could be, though. It could be that we just touched upon it, or that we, I guess, could not even get there because of all the pressure. But basically what's happening and what's quite logical is that there's a historical resistance right here, right at about 15.6, 15.7. And as can be seen, obviously, on the daily and I guess any other time frame lower, we really got to this fib and then exactly downwards. I mean, no candle even closed above there or could. It's really close to it, which is rather fun to see, right? I mean, I told you guys on this channel here that this area was one to really watch out for, and if we breached, there was a high likelihood of going all the way up into this zone first off. I mean, close to 17,000 that would be. However, most likely we would have free range all the way to all-time high. And by the way, make sure you check out the Growth Masters Academy. I made this channel to teach you guys about making extra money on the internet, sitting at freaking home. This is my main job, so check this video out. Link to the channel is in the description below. I think it is worth your time to look into at least, all right? I'm doing this really for you. There are no ads. Having said that, let's actually keep looking at Bitcoin. What I'm thinking here is going to happen is either of two scenarios, since what we thought was going to happen didn't do. All right, we thought that we were going to get rejected at this level yesterday, and thus prices were going to continue downwards to the first support or big support at about 13.8. I've checked out different analysts here, and for example, this guy says worst case scenario, we're going to be hitting support at about 13.6. Yeah, he was right in the middle of my personal thought. Yeah, I mean, all things considered, literally what everybody's been saying is we're most likely going to be retesting this zone right here. And even today, we have tested it. You can see exactly how close this is getting. If we check on the 4 hour, you can see it's looming right there. And really, the last candles are getting closer to it, even though we had a little bit of a setback earlier yesterday. Right now, we are getting closer and closer and closer. And my guess is that we're going to test it just a couple more times, and maybe the third time is going to be a charm. I can't really say for certain, but at least we're getting there, all right? And again, some might say this is too simple. Some say we're going to need some difficult charts like this guy's been having, and that's the only thing I believe, and that's the only thing I trust. I believe in simplicity. I believe in literally looking at this and I guess, kind of going with what you feel and what seems logical. I don't think you need those heavy indicators in this sense here, because it's the bigger picture, which in my opinion seems very damn clear. We just got rejected as a very, very important and very key resistance, and we're retesting it. Now, the reason this is happening, most likely the election and the uncertainty in the space. However, we can also clearly see one pattern. So the run-up here was most likely because, well, whatever were to happen, the dollar would go down. Or at least, there's a lot of negative speculation on the dollar, which means people want a safe haven. And the more that people buy into gold, the more instances are saying, no, gold is not the thing, Bitcoin is the thing. Even JP Morgan said that, like we discovered last episode. So, yeah, the Bitcoin just kept rising. It kind of stalled there because we hit a major roadblock, the big resistance. It fell back down because of the major, I think everybody knows that, the major media just storm that we saw yesterday, just everybody going against each other, big rallies, big protests, a lot of difficult and heavy stuff, right? And that is mostly just around the big point of the, I guess, media election is what I'm going to call it from now on forward. I think that scared a lot of guys. It scared a lot of people. It might have also hurt a lot of, big supporters of the other side who are like, you know what, screw this. Could also be, or a lot of guys that were really, really afraid that something big was going to be happening. It even caught me, almost, all right? I told you in the video, I'm not going to be selling because I think I'm going to ride the wave. Luckily, I didn't, because if we did, we would have most likely sold at about 15,000, 14.9, which would have been a very small move, and we would have most likely lost our money, all right? So I'm very, very happy we stayed. However, I think this small candle here, just after the election, or the media election, shook out a lot of weak holders, making it drop a little bit. But at the bottom, the extreme greed that's been going on for a pretty long while here kicked back in, making our prices go back up. And right now, we're right back at this resistance, testing it. And this might ensue for a little while, as right now there's still a lot of uncertainty going on. And theoretically speaking, this could go on for the next 2 months, as everything is indecisive. However, best case scenario, we breach it, in which case we'll definitely be putting up some longs, depending on how heavily we breach and exactly what's going to be happening and what's it looking like on the, I guess, bigger time frames. However, the big time frames we all saw are at this point looking very, very bullish. So it is just going to be a matter of testing and trying to breach. I mean, the volume right now is quite lackluster. At this point, when it was testing it, it was still pretty damn heavy. Right now, it's lacking. But maybe tomorrow, since the stock market is coming back in, we're going to either see a huge pump, most likely going past this level, or a dump to our first resistance, possibly at about 13.8 support, guys. Yeah, it's depending. All right, here is another guy who's trying to compare things to the stock market, who actually thinks we're going to have a pretty big dump just now happening, or at least within the next couple of weeks or couple of days. This is taking the Moody's Corp, or Moody's Investor Service. Moody's Investor Service, often referred to as Moody's, is the bond crediting ratings business of Moody's Corporation, representing the company's traditional line of business and its historical name. Moody's Investor Service provides international financial research on bonds issued by commercial and government entities. I believe that's the chart he is referring to right here. If I'm mistaken, guys, that could be all right. But I checked the chart here to quickly verify, and it is MCO, and it does look a lot like this with the END at the bottom as well, the one I was looking at. So it most likely is the same one, at least I'm assuming. And he put it over Bitcoin. And something that's quite interesting is how it follows along. I mean, yeah, it is quite similar, but also how he expects that this, again, following the trend line, is going to be our turning point. So we hit that major resistance, in this case here at about 15.9 thousand, 15.8 somewhere. Right now we're going to be falling down all the way most likely to about 11 or something thousand, which is interesting if you ask me. I'm not really that excited for it if you were to have my real opinion. But he also says we could go down all the way to about 6.5, which is about 1/3 of our current valuation, which is another very, very interesting thought to have. And the thing is, whenever I read these types of things, to a certain degree, I'm very, very negative, because I'm like, well, that would suck. Like anybody could guess, that would really, really suck. On the contrary, I mean, if we're honestly talking, I'm not really ready for a huge surge, all right? I'm either ready for crypto going to such levels we've never seen before where I'm crazy freaking rich, but I'm always like, well, if Bitcoin were to go to 50,000, I'm not crazy rich. If XRP were to go to $3, I'm not crazy rich. So I need to get more of my coins, at least for the amount of bullishness I have in my heart, to be satisfied. Because if we get to $3 for XRP, or if we get to $25,000 per Bitcoin, I'm not even really eager to sell. All right, I might sell a little bit to have some, I guess, extra pocket money, but in general, my business, like I've explained on this channel, is doing pretty damn nice. So I don't really need to sell for the money. I just kind of want to sell for the profit, if you guys get me, right? I mean, we're all in this journey together. However, whenever we look back, we're always like, well, those guys who sold Bitcoin at 3,000 or those guys who sold Bitcoin at 600, they're dumb. Look at where it is right now. But to a certain degree, right, not selling at 20,000 was, I guess, one of the worst decisions of my life, even though we sold somewhere around there a little bit, but not, most of it I held. Was kind of the worst decision because we lost so much money, sorta. On the contrary, it wouldn't have done much different because, well, would I have bought at the bottom again? I mean, if I really sold and bought at the bottom, then I would have been a crazy freaking trader, right? It would have been amazing. But I'm not that good, all right? I'm not that good to predict that type of stuff. I mean, that's kind of the same thing right now where you're like, okay, we're at 16,000, or 15, 16,000. If you sell it right now and we get to 3,000, you're a freaking genius because you get 5 times your money. However, if we never get here again, or, we never go down anymore, you're a freaking bonobo, you're dumb, right? So that's what type of risk you're willing to take. But also to the same extent that it's not that dumb to hold on because you don't want to take that risk. But on another end, it's not that dumb if you cash out, if you want to take the risk of the price falling. Now, most analysts and I guess most guys you'll see trading will say bet on a winning horse. So when everybody's going long, you long too. When everybody's going short, you short too. Otherwise, you're going to lose money trying to be the one guy to predict the exact top or turning point. However, with crypto, sometimes it seems so obvious. This whole little period of a couple of hours looked like everything was going to be turning around again. And I think a lot of people panic sold. However, right now we see that, first of all, the market is trying to shake people out like they do always. They're trying to see who has the weak hands. But to another degree, it is just that it's very, very hard to pinpoint exactly when things are gonna hit the fan, when things are exactly gonna be switching over. So yeah, just keep that in the back of your head, all right? Keep that in mind. That is not even bad if you're holding through. I've done it before. A lot of my friends and a lot of my bigger investors that I know have done it too, because we don't want to sell Bitcoin at a low point. But even if we go to 50,000, I might not even sell it all. Because why would I? I would only sell it if I expect the price to go down instantly. But that is always going to be a risk. And then comes the question of when are you going to take profit, right? Because you don't have dividends with Bitcoin, so you're never going to get something like that. So yeah, that's why some people, I think, go to yield farming. That's why some people go to staking. That's why people go for some programs like that. Because they can give you some real return on your money instead of just, I guess, waiting for the big boom where you might still not do anything. But if you're asking me what's going to happen tomorrow, well, I think we're going to have to wait for, I guess, the moment the stock market opens, because that's definitely going to be setting the tone. If we're looking at Bitcoin's macro, and even, I guess, the micro, things are looking bullish, all right? Just a clear and obvious resistance that we can most likely get by or past if the bigger picture suffices. Because, again, the bigger picture for Bitcoin obviously suffices as everything is looking as bullish as ever, all right? That's I think, out in the open and very damn clear. However, the bigger picture here is what's happening to the stock market tomorrow, what's going on, because gold, even though gold is gaining here, I've been hearing, even from JP Morgan, like I said, that the gold guys are getting into crypto. I think it's factual as well. I think a lot of those guys are switching over and going to go into Bitcoin because they want something more liquid. But Bitcoin awaits U.S. election result to make a move, which is exactly what I'm thinking. That this is the American cliffhanger. This is one of the biggest cliffhangers we've ever seen. And that what we're going to witness tomorrow is almost 95% dependent on what we're going to see on this part. 95. I don't think any statements from these presidents is going to change it. No, it is what the stock market is going to do, and whether or not the investments really like or hate that Biden is now on top. I mean, a lot of guys predicted it to go bad, but I'm not that certain anymore since I saw this Bitcoin move. And since I've been seeing, I guess, a lot of the investments from my friends mostly on, I guess, different places also go down already. Where it's like, okay, since things have already gone down significantly, maybe it doesn't have to do it anymore. Or maybe it's okay already. You know, you guys get what I'm saying here? Maybe we're already done. Maybe that was the shakeout. However, since the stock market is tomorrow open for the first day, yeah, maybe the shakeout is happening all over again. What can we expect from Bitcoin going forward? Well, as I said before, all we can see here, this is the dumbest thing ever. This is literally stupid, but what he explains is just Bitcoin surges higher, breaking through resistances, or Bitcoin pulls back to accumulate and then surges higher. It's just, bullish, but he doesn't really give us any other thing right there at all, which is rather interesting to think about. XRP prepares to break out will boost target 30 cents, and Nouriel Roubini recognizes Bitcoin as a store of value. Nobel-winning economist Nouriel Roubini has seemingly warmed up to Bitcoin, claiming that it could serve as a partial store of value. Honestly, guys, I think piece by piece, there will not be people who are against Bitcoin anymore for store of value. People will embrace it. If you're really asking me if crypto is useful, I'm going to say yes. If you ask me if Bitcoin itself is very useful, I'm going to say maybe. But that maybe is just because a store of value will work, but transactions, XRP takes the cake. And if you're wondering what's happening in XRP, it's the same thing. All right, I've shown you the zone here exactly. This is not drawn in new. We've drawn this weeks ago, maybe months ago already. I don't know exactly, but I definitely think it was at the beginning of October or September, maybe even September when we drew these zones. All right, and then we've been adding in these small little lines here and the blue lines because that's kind of what's indicating the trend. And what we expected was that either this one kind of didn't really, I guess, count, meaning that we're witnessing a continuum of the trend with just one kind of small little downfall, or what we saw was a upwards trend switching over to a downwards trend, now switching over to an upwards trend. I guess that is more prominent, of course, on a lower time frame. On the bigger, it kind of looks dumb, but that was what was happening, where it was broken now because of the interesting election and things like that. But on the contrary, it could also be, again, that we're still continuing this one, or I guess we got into the zone, which we described earlier, and we were just trading inside of it, right? With some small downfalls, but it's still within our range, and it's trying to get out of there, but there's even a bigger resistance at about 26.5, so it's kind of stuck in the midst here of, I guess, 25.8 and 26. As it can't get out of there, then bulls don't really want to grab on because there's not enough pressure to blast through it. So what's the purpose, right? You're just kind of wasting your effort, money, and time. So maybe that's what's happening. What's the case for XRP right now? It's kind of looking like it though. 4 hour, I guess we're getting closer and closer, especially yesterday, to this resistance here at about 26.45. However, it is again very interesting to see how exactly to the dot it is hitting the fib level. It's sometimes kind of scary how good this fib stuff works. All right, it's sometimes really, really scary. But also the lower fib level here, it's just trading perfectly within that range, which is pretty scary. But again, if we get a positive result from the stock market tomorrow, everything is looking to increase. Everything is looking good. Everything is poised for, I guess, a beautiful day to happen. Look at this one even. This exactly to the next fib level. It is sometimes so beautiful to consider how charting works. And if you have the time, I really recommend getting into it a little bit because it's so fascinating to see. All right. And especially, in my opinion, sometimes if you take a look at these I guess, heavier analysis, or when you're comparing things to each other, which make a lot of sense as well, or sometimes when you're just considering a whole lot of different scenarios and possibilities, in my opinion, it can get really, really beautiful and just really, really exciting to take a look at. But again, that's just my opinion on the whole situation, and I'm just a random guy on the internet, so don't take this as financial advice. But I think if the stock market is bullish tomorrow, Bitcoin will break the roof, even though it is not necessary. Because there's a very small 5% chance or maybe 10% chance that Bitcoin's correlation is now kind of taking its own course. I don't see that likely, though. I don't think that that's the case. I still think that Bitcoin is heavily tied to the stock market, and thus, if the stock market falls, these crypto will do as well. There's a small chance, though, that since there's more statements coming out of Bitcoin as a store of value and more statements coming out that Bitcoin is replacing gold, that we're changing. But I think that change is still going to be taking some time, and thus, we're not there yet. But Guys, consider what I've said, but don't take it as financial advice. Don't take it too seriously, as it's just some speculation and some talk. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully you learned something new. Make sure you press the like button and subscribe if you enjoyed it, and check out the Growth Masters Academy. And I'll see you guys again in another crypto video.